Thank you for joining me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you
Yeah,
for having me.
yeah, of course. This is exciting. And, I want to share with whoever watches this video that if they watched other videos of mine, they've seen you before. Um, and we met online, but we actually met in person while we were in Rome.
Yes.
We have time to, we'll chat about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was my first time in Rome. It was your first time in Rome, right?
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. And so I will start there. I feel like I don't know, there's so much. There's so much.
Mhm.
But we'll start with what's your favorite thing? What's the one thing that you're like that stands out to you from your trip?
Oh my God. Well, I'm a foodie, so definitely the food, like the pasta. Oh my God, it was so good. It was so fresh. The first pasta bite that I took, I was like, oh my God, I wanted to cry because it was so good. I was like, oh my God, it's so much better here.
Mhm.
But I haven't found a place here. I'm hoping to find one in Chicago, but the food there, amazing.
I didn't have a lot of pasta. I'm not a huge pasta person, and I know, everybody's like, oh, it's
Mhm.
different in Italy. Um,
Yeah.
but I tried the zucchini pasta. I
Oh, was
like
that
that.
good?
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Oh.
And then at my hostel, I did a class and
Mm.
we did well, they said carbonara, which is a like a style, I think, of pasta, right?
Yeah.
But it was really interesting because they did like the sauce was like egg, but they don't cook the
Mm.
egg all the way.
Uh-huh.
It's very interesting. But
Oh,
you did
you've
a
never had carbonara?
no?
Oh, really?
Where I live, it's just such a small community that you really only have Mexican food.
Oh, okay.
Um, you'll have like some Asian food places, probably not very authentic, but
Uh-huh.
you have Asian food and then like American food. And that's
Mm.
like as far as it really goes.
Oh, okay. Oh
Yeah.
my God. No, here we have like everything. We have Asian, um, American, obviously, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Greek. We have like a little Greek town and Italian, Chinatown. Um, so I tried everything. I did try different sauces because I'm usually like the kind that goes to like carbonara or like regular, marinara sauce. But over there, I was like, okay, I'm in Italy. I'm gonna try different sauces, and I did. And oh my God, I'm so glad that I did because now I'm like, I guess here I always wanted to stick to like the basic kind of, but over there I was like, let me try a different one. So now that I tried it over there, like I'm not scared to try different sauces here now. You get me?
Yeah,
So so good.
yeah. Well, I mean, if you're gonna try it, that's probably a good place to do it where it's like authentic.
Exactly. Yeah.
Was there anything that you tried that you were really looking forward to and you're like, that didn't really hit the spot or like it wasn't what you thought it would be?
Um, there was what was it? It was
Not to
like our last.
not to give you a quiz right now.
I know, right? No, but there was something I can't remember. I want to say I think it was the que era.
So I know one thing that I don't know actually if I talked to you about it, but maybe it was another person that went to Italy. We were talking about the gelato. I liked that there was a lot of flavors, but it wasn't like I don't know. I just expected, I think, something more.
Yeah, you know what? I think it was that because I was like trying to think. I'm like maybe it was like a dessert thing. I was gonna say tiramisu, but no, the tiramisu was really good actually.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
actually, I'm not a big fan of tiramisu, but when I tried it there, I was like, oh my God, it's so good. I don't know if it's because we were in Italy, right? But like usually, like I don't know, some like no me gusta.
Mhm.
But yeah, the gelato, I feel like, and I tried different flavors. So every time we went, I swear we probably had gelato like 4 times in one day because I wanted to try like different flavors and because it was so hot.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't, yeah, it kind of I wasn't a really big fan of it. Um, and I love like ice cream, but for some reason, no, I don't know, something about it. Like, yeah, you're right. Like, it just didn't hit the same. I don't know.
Yeah. I think part of it, with certain things like you have such high expectations of
Mm-hmm.
it, from what you hear. So then you go over there and you're like, oh, I was expecting to be blown away.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I did read some people, because I was in all these groups, that people are like, oh, you have to find like the hole in the wall places. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's like the place, like the mom and pop places. And I know like right there in the center of Rome, it's very touristy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, maybe that was it. But I
Mm-hmm.
agree with the tiramisu. I love tiramisu, and that's one of the things that I was really excited about.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I don't know how to explain it. It just like was a perfect, I don't know what all goes into it, but the like perfect balance. Because it has
Mm-hmm.
like, some coffee in it, but it's just like it was just different. I've had good tiramisu for, I think, Americanized tiramisu, but
Uh-huh.
it was really good. I was
Yeah.
very
I
excited
think
about it.
I think maybe también because like the coffee over there, like they're really big on like their coffee. So I feel like that makes a huge difference because I'm a big coffee lover. So I think just the consistency of the coffee or like how strong it was, like I think that's what I really liked about it.
Yeah, yeah. Talking about coffee, that's one of the things that I noticed that
Mm-hmm.
I keep telling everybody, I'm like, oh, you don't see people like walking around with their venti and their whatever they are. Like that's very different. You also don't see people walking around with Crocs. I was probably the only one
Yeah, like,
with
yeah, like
Crocs.
you have to sit there and like enjoy your coffee, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing that I feel like I appreciated. Like
Mm-hmm.
obviously I probably could have learned a little bit because I at one point I was walking around like eating my sandwich and then I realized like, yeah, not a lot of people are walking around eating. Like it's not a thing. Like, yeah, you go and you sit down and you
Yeah.
enjoy your food. But
Yeah, like, I feel like over there, like life is very like calm, kind of, no?
hmm
Right? I know.
yeah.
I really like. I really miss that, and I like it because I'm like, oh, like it feels like a vacation. You get me? Even though we did a lot, but I really like just like sitting there and like enjoying like the weather and like drinking my little apple spritz.
Did you feel like it was too hot?
Oh
Because
my god, yeah.
we went well, I was there the first week of September.
Mhm.
And so were you, kind of around the same days, right?
Yeah, we
Or were you
left.
there longer?
We were there August 29th, I think.
Mhm. Yeah, because you
Mhm.
left on the same day that I left, but I left to France first.
Yeah, and we got stranded in Iceland.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I feel like we got there at the same time. Like I think it was August. I can't even remember. But yeah, those days were so hot.
Mhm.
My husband was miserable.
If you were to go again, would you go around that same time?
No. I think I would go maybe like spring or fall because I heard that those days are like better
hmm
because the summers are brutal over there. And even though I like the summer, like the heat, like I don't mind it, but when we were in Venice, it was so hot that I almost had a heat stroke. I've never had that and I've never experienced it. So I didn't know what the hell was going on. But I really felt like dizzy and like because we were walking, so we went to Venice, so we were like walking a lot and there's not a lot of shade there. And I don't know, like I started feeling like dizzy and like very like tired. And then I started kind of seeing like spots. And I told my husband, I'm like, okay, can we sit down for a little bit? Because I'm like, it's so hot. And then he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah. And then I was like, I just feel like really dizzy. I'm like, and I'm so thirsty. And he's like, I think you're having a heat stroke. And I'm like, what? And
Yeah.
then he go get me some water and I feel so much better.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat. I would not recommend going. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
know some people like they have to go, like that's the only time they have vacation,
Mm-hmm.
but it is hot. It
Yeah.
it was, yeah, hotter than I thought it would be. And like you, I like the hot. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna be fine. And then I even took like pants, and then I was like, dude, I cannot wear, like I use like shorts and stuff that I had
Mm-hmm.
more than once because I'm like, it's hot. And you're right, you're walking. If you want to see everything, like you're gonna walk a lot. If you
Mm-hmm.
get, I mean, Uber or taxi, it's gonna cost a lot. But yeah, I think we we also underestimate like that you're surrounded by rocks. You know, all these buildings
Mhm.
are rocks. They're gonna attract heat,
Yeah,
and it is hot.
super. Yeah, yes, and
I
then over.
can't stress it.
It's funny because I saw a lot of like TikToks of like people talking about like the heat in Italy and
Mhm,
how they don't have like well, I mean I don't mind like room temperature water,
mhm,
but like in the heat I want like a cold ice cold water, and they don't have that. And every store that we would go to and buy like water bottles, like they were like cold but not like ice cold, you get me?
mhm,
So people were talking about that on TikTok, and I was like, oh my God, I wasn't the only one. I thought I was like, okay, is something wrong with me? Like, is it that hot that, like, to me, it's not cold enough? But no, everybody was talking about how, like, I don't know, for some reason, their refrigerators are not like cold. You get me?
mhm. Yeah. And it also might be that time of the year, you know, where it's like it's just maybe can't keep up.
Mm-hmm. Because it's so hot.
Yeah, yeah, no. Yeah, we can't stress that enough. It takes a lot for me to sweat. Like I'm not like a sweater, I guess. I don't know if that's the word, but just
Mm-hmm.
like naturally. But like over there, I was like, dude, a layer of sweat. It was
Yeah.
so
Like,
crazy.
I even took a hair straightener because I was like, well, I'm gonna do my hair. Oh, hell no. I didn't do anything. I just would shower and just put like hairspray and mousse, and that's it. And then
Mhm.
like even my makeup, I'm like, oh my God, it's so hot to wear makeup. So like I would put like literally a little bit and my lipstick, and that's it. Like I was like, no, I'm gonna sweat all this makeup off if I do anything else. So it was so hot.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, if I ever go, I think, yeah, there's like spring or fall.
Mhm.
I'm sure it's probably like perfect temperature for us in that time.
Yeah, that's what I heard because I was like, oh my God, I'm like, I mean, I would definitely want to go back, but yeah, like not during that time. That was like the worst time for us to go. But it was
Yeah.
nice. I feel like I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah, no, there's so much to see. If you have to go in the summer where it's really hot, just like timing things, you know, leaving really
Hmm.
early and maybe planning a break or something indoors,
Hmm.
and then going out again in la tarde.
Yeah.
Think you'll get your most out of your trip. So one of the things, you know, as I was doing my research, and I think one of reasons a lot of people like are scared to travel is because of safety,
Hmm.
and like theft. You know where I'm
Hmm.
going with it. um, and so that's one of the things, you know, that people were like in the groups that I was in, they're like, oh yeah, you know, you have to be really careful, and these areas are, you know, pretty bad.
Hmm.
And I did certain things, you know, like taking an extra like um fanny pack that I wore like under the first couple of days. I mean, I just you do it when I fill it out.
Hmm.
I had a backpack. I brought little clips. But when we met, you told me about a story that you had. So overall,
Or
um, overall, I felt pretty safe in the area. One of the
Mhm.
things that people said, and we both stayed in this area by the Termini station, and people
Mhm.
like were like, "Oh, don't stay near there. That's like the bad part." I honestly felt fine.
Mhm.
Overall, before we get into your story, because I want you know people to hear it. If you're willing to share it, actually, I
Oh,
should
sure.
ask permission.
Yeah, because I've been telling everybody. I was like, oh my God, that's so embarrassing.
Well, that's I think the things that people need to know, you know, like
Yeah.
sometimes you think like, oh no, like I'm fine, or you get comfortable, like me, you
Mhm.
know, then I started feeling fine, and then I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't, you know, I should ask, still keep an
Mhm.
eye out on things. But overall, did you feel safe?
No, I did. I did. Because I feel like I traveled to like a lot of places. And yeah, it was just, like you said, me feeling a little bit too comfortable,
Mhm.
which I shouldn't have. But I feel like it could happen anywhere. First of all, don't carry your passports. Do not carry your passports. And if you do, put it in front of you, because that's one thing that my husband kept telling me. Put your bag in front of you. And I was like, no, nothing has ever happened. And he's like, no, they say that the pickpocketing here is really bad. And I'm like, well, we've been to so many places and they've told us that, and like nothing has happened. And of course, it's like he tells me, you just need a wake up call. He's like, and unfortunately, this had to be your wake up call, because then after that, I was like putting my bag in front of me, even though I wasn't really carrying anything. But I'm like, I don't know, like just the thought of like that happening or like anything happening again. So I had my passport. And I was carrying it with me because people were like, well, why were you carrying your passport? So the reason I carried it with me was because we had gone to London 2 years ago, and we took a train to France, and they said that we were going to need our passport. So I took our passports. So even though we were in Rome and we took a train to Venice, like I didn't know if they were going to ask for our passports. So I took it just in case. And of course, I had my bag behind me and our passports in there. And I had it with a passport cover. And that passport cover looked pretty thick. So of course, my husband was like, put your bag in front of you. And I was like, no, like I'll be able to feel if somebody goes through my bag, especially because I consider myself a very paranoid person. So I got to like, if I feel anything, I'm like looking behind, like, who's touching me or like whatever. I don't know how this happened. These people are very smart and they know what they're doing, because then, of course, a lady comes running and she's like, oh my God, are these your passports? And I was like, I even remember like looking at her and then looking at her again. I was like, oh my God, those are our passports. Because I remember the color. Mine was white and my husband's was blue. And I was like, oh my God. So then I grabbed them and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, oh my God, thank you. And she was like talking to me in Italian. And like, I'm learning Italian, but I didn't really understand what she was saying. Because at that moment I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe that this happened. So then I like grabbed my bag and my bag was completely open. And I was like, how did this happen? And oh my God, my husband was like so mad. He's like, oh my God, why did you bring the passports and whatever? And I told him, I was like, well, I didn't know they're going to ask us for the passports when we took the train here. He said, well, we're in Italy. Like, they weren't going to ask us. And I was like, okay, well, I wasn't thinking about that. I was just like, just in case. Mm-hmm. And he's like, this is why I told you should put it in front of you. And I was like, I know. Oh my God. And you know what's so funny? So the passports, they like, once I looked at it and I was like, well, why would they take just our passports and they didn't take nothing else? Because they did look like wallets because they were pretty thick. The crazy part was that literally maybe like when we got to Venice, we didn't have any cash. So we stopped at an ATM to get cash. But my husband was the one carrying the cash and he had it in front of him. Imagine if I would have carried all that cash, because I think we took out like $400. So I don't know how much that is in like euros. But anyways, that was a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Like they would have took all that money. Like they would have found something in there, because clearly, obviously, like they would have probably took the passports and like the money. I'm just glad that, we got our passports back, and like I even looked that up. Not saying that you should carry your passports and you should still be careful, but I did look it up, and it's not really hard to get a passport, like if that were to happen. But still, do not recommend. Just carry your bag in front of you at all times. Like, don't be too confident the way that I was, because this was my wake-up call. Trust me, after that, I was like, oh my God, never doing that again.
I looked it up, and I don't know if this was the most, is the right answer, but one of the articles that I read said that people that are visitors actually are required to carry their passport just in case the police ask them for it.
And you know what? That's what I've heard too. So that's why kind of, because when we went, I traveled to like a lot of, well, not a lot, but like a lot of countries. And like when we went to South Korea, they said the same thing, like carry it with you in case like the cops ever stop you. Like you can tell them like, oh, I'm just here visiting. I have my passport, whatever. So that's why I was like, well, I didn't think it was a big deal to carry it with me. You get me? They're like, no, you should put it in your safe. And I'm like, what do I do then? Should I carry it or should I not?
Yeah, I think it's safer to keep it in the safe and then just carry maybe like an ID. Because I feel like most of the time, I feel like they would just give you a warning. I don't know that they would get you like in real trouble. Well, at least that was my hope, because I didn't carry my passport for the same, because I'm like, oh, like what if I lose it, or what if I put my backpack down or something. Another thing that I think is important for your story is that you are from Chicago. So it's a little bit different. I think, when I go, I'm like more paranoid, because I'm like, I live in a small town. There's not that much like craziness going on. So I think that puts it like, like different. You probably went over there and were like, oh, this is way calmer.
Yeah.
Chicago.
Like, I'm from the city. Like, how worse can it get, But yeah, for sure. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. But yeah, no matter where you go, if it has not happened to you, you do not want it to happen, because trust me, my heart was like, oh, that like kind of ruined like the rest of my day because I was just like, I cannot believe this happened to us. Like, what if we wouldn't have found our passports? Like the headache to have to like go to the embassy or like, you know, get like an emergency passport and like that just ruins your like your whole vacation. You get me? So that's how I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe it.
Yeah. Well, that's good that they just, because I think one thing you had mentioned when you told me the story, like,
Mhm.
good thing they just threw them on the floor versus like in the garbage, because then that
Or like
person,
in the Grand Canal, because we were like right there by the Grand Canal. So like
yeah.
imagine they would be like, oh, and just throw it, you know?
The trains, the buses, um, those are the main things, right?
Mhm.
But anywhere there's a lot of people and there's a lot of people moving in and out, I think that's where people have to be like the most cautious.
Yeah.
Because I think
Hmm.
it's easy for somebody to just, you like you said, like you think you're like, oh yeah, I would feel it, right? But I
Hmm.
think, there's so much going on around you. And then for me, like I was always trying to like watch where my stop, because I'm like, oh no, no, like I said, it actually happened to me a couple of times where I had to like backtrack so I missed a stop. But I'm still like, paying attention forward, like what is going on, because I need to get off. But
Yeah, and you get distracted because you know, like you're like trying to take pictures and like you know sightsee and whatever. So like your mind is not like you get me. So I don't know.
yeah. So just be
They were
cautious.
very pros, yeah, for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah, I know. See, I was just watching the movie, or rewatching the movie Focus. I don't know if
Mm,
you ever seen it with Will
no.
Smith and Margot Robbie.
Hmm.
Pretty much has to do with like they're like professional scammers where they like one person, they have a couple people, and then one person like bumps into the person and distracts
Hmm.
them while the other one takes like the
Yeah,
walk there or whatever.
and that's what my husband said because a lot in Venice, a lot of like the walkways to like get to another place, they look kind of like alleys. So it was like kind of dark.
Hmm.
So I don't know, maybe like at that point, maybe I was taking a picture or something. I don't know. And my husband was because he walks faster than me. So he was in front of me the whole time. So, you know, or like I was always falling behind because I was taking pictures or like taking videos. So I think that's why they probably saw me and they're like, oh, this girl's all distracted, like she'll never feel it. And sure enough, he's like, these people are pros. Like
Yeah.
puede pasar uno and zip it. And then another one, unzip it a little bit more. And then another one and unzip it a little bit more until they finally open it. And then, you know, like everything's right there exposed. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, you're right. Like, how did I not feel it?
From your trip, if somebody was going to go to that area, what are three places that you think that you would recommend that you're like, you know what? You should have missed this.
So for sure take a train. And it can be anywhere, not just like Venice, because I think the train takes you to like a whole bunch of places like in Italy. I would have definitely liked to go to other places, but we were there for like obviously not that long. But Venice was really nice. So even though that happened to me in Venice, I still recommend it. It was so beautiful. Like there was like the gondola rides, like just the whole like walking around there, like it was really nice. The Colosseum. I know you went to the Colosseum too, right? So
Yeah,
that was
I would
really
recommend it.
yeah. What else? The Trevi Fountain, I know was pretty packed, but I liked it. It was really nice. Like I get seeing something that you only see like in like pictures,
Photos.
like photos, like on Instagram or like videos, like actually seeing it in person. I was like, oh my God, this is the Trevi Fountain.
Mhm.
So it was really nice. Those are the three things.
Nice.
Mhm.
I did you visit the Vatican Museum?
No, so we didn't really visit a lot of museums. I think the only one that we did was Pantheon, Pantheon, something like that.
Mhm.
I don't know what it's called, but we went there like really quick. Um, that's the only place that we actually went in. Like the other ones we didn't because it was so hot and we were like there were so many people, so we just thought like the lines were gonna be like it was gonna be hotter in there, so we just didn't even bother going in.
Yeah, so I did visit the Vatican Museum, and I thought
Mhm.
it's it's pretty amazing. But uh talking about like how hot it was in there. So one thing that I had read before was that they don't have like normal AC because
Mhm.
they have to preserve everything that they have, and so they so I don't know if they have no AC or they just don't have like real robust AC.
Mm,
So it's, those places is hotter. So I was a little bit nervous of like going in there in the middle of the day because I think my appointment was like at 2 o'clock. Um,
mm,
and it did feel warm sometimes, but I feel like it was manageable because you're still kind of in the shade. But it's a lot of walking. It's a lot.
mm,
Like, it's not one of those things that if you really want to look at things, it's not one of those things that you're just gonna go like in and out, which is what I
mm,
thought I would do. I'm like, I just want to see the Sistine Chapel. Yeah,
mm.
yeah, my boy. It took me a really long time. Like you have to go through, and I don't even know if I just didn't know how to read the map right, or if you
Mm,
actually have to go through one place to the other to get to the other. I went downstairs, I went upstairs, and
mhm,
then the tour people had like a shortcut, but the normal people didn't have a shortcut, so you had to go around. It was it's a whole thing. Um,
mm,
but I would recommend it. I mean, if people like art and sculptures and seeing like there's a lot
mhm.
of like statues. There was a Medusa statue where I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
really?
mis greñas on Medusa. So
Oh.
I found it funny that there's like a big head of her. There was like another one, like a guy laying down, and there was just like a bunch of babies, like little babies all around him. I don't know. I can't remember like what it was about. They
Mhm,
obviously have like their own meaning, but there was big statues, little statues, animal statues, um, sea lives. So there was just a lot. And then you have like on the ceiling, um, like there's places where like there's all on the ceilings, there's like
mm,
not pictures, but portraits, I guess, paintings.
uh-huh,
And then you'll have them like down the wall. So you're like walking down this hallway and there's just like
mm,
it's a lot. There's a lot to look at. So I thought that was actually pretty cool. That's one thing that I'm
mm.
like that I thought of skipping. And I think I could have skipped it, but at some point I think I would want to do it.
Yeah, we did go inside one church. I don't know which church it was, but I am gonna say like those churches are beautiful. Like they really, I'm like, man, these are huge. But like, yeah, like you said, like the portraits and like the statues. I don't know, like it just being in there in Rome, like in one of those churches, like I don't know, like it just felt kind of like peaceful, you know? Um, so if you're like really like Catholic, like into like the Catholic religion, like definitely go to one of the churches. So it was really
Yeah,
nice. Hmm.
yeah. I went to Vatican City that day that I'm like, oh, there's gonna be an audience. If you can catch it, there's La Audiencia del Papa, the papal, I don't know, it sounds weird when I say it, the papal audience,
Hmm.
um, where he goes and he does this a couple times a month,
Hmm.
and he will like stand up in his window, I think they say. Anyways, he like will do like a little mini sermon. He will bless the stuff that you have. So if you have like religious items like rosarios and things that you want blessed by
Hmm.
him, he will give like a blessing. And then I think he does it in 5 languages. So I think that, if people can make it to that, I mean, if they're religious, obviously,
Yeah.
um,
Hmm.
then if you're not Catholic, you're probably like, who cares? But
Yeah.
I would still recommend going to like the different churches because, like you said, they are amazing. And it's
Yeah,
just
they're gorgeous.
crazy the amount of work and the size of these things
Hmm.
that, they put together with no tools. I mean, I'm sure they had tools, but not like the tools that we have now.
Yeah.
So,
I think just like knowing like the background, like how long, how old they are, and like you're literally standing on something that has been here for like so many years, like just the history behind it. It's like I don't really know the full history, but just knowing that it's been here for so long, I'm like, damn, like this is beautiful. Like you said, if you're really into the Catholic religion, you're gonna cry in there if you walk in there because it felt so nice to be in there.
yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's kind of like the I mean, not that part of like the religious part, but the idea of like something being so old and being
Mhm.
so long, like the
The
Colosseum, like
Colosseum,
I would
yeah.
definitely recommend, visiting the Colosseum, visiting those spots. Like it's like amazing. And it's something, I mean, the Colosseum is something that had a lot of death and there's a lot of like I mean, bad things that happened there,
Mm-hmm.
but it is amazing to see it in person, and to be there. Yeah, that was one of my favorite. I think the Colosseum just like,
Mm-hmm.
it's the things you read about in history books, like,
Yeah.
all
And like
those
to actually
stories.
see it in person was like, oh my God, how amazing.
Yeah, yeah, and the massiveness of these buildings, and I mean, we're only seeing part of it, right? Because some of it has deteriorated and things like that, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still like so grand. Um,
Yeah.
that's what I felt like in the Roman Forum, just being next to like those pillars that were just, I mean, I'm a tiny little person and this pillar is just
It's
huge.
so huge, I know.
So that one, I think that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
One thing
I don't
to
even think I went there.
the Roman Forum.
Yeah, was that next to the Coliseum?
Hmm.
Oh, I think we had the ticket, but we didn't have time, or I think we went to eat and then we just forgot about it.
Oh, so yeah, it usually,
Mhm.
I think usually, because I bought it on the like their official website, and it
Mhm.
gave me the ticket to the Roman for, sorry, blah, blah, to the Roman Forum. I got distracted and my
Mhm.
palabras se me fueron. So you get your ticket to the Roman Forum, along with your the Colosseum.
Mhm.
So you get to do both. I went, but I honestly like did not spend a lot of time there because it was hot.
Yeah.
There's no shade. Um, there's a lot of people. It's yeah. So you need to go at the right time. And I don't know if you have to go like in one and then right into the other. If there's a
Mhm.
time frame, or if you can just go at any time of the day. Um, but yeah. I did you buy your tickets online?
Mhm. We bought them. No, I think we bought them there. So there was like a little tent. So when you go in, I don't know if you noticed that there was like a QR code where it was telling you to buy it online, but we couldn't. So then we asked one of the security people, and they said they sent us to a little tent where you can buy them there. So I guess you can do it with either or.
Yeah, the reason I asked is because I bought mine online, but I was in France. So I was in the same time zone, but I saw a lot of people having issues
Mhm.
trying to get their tickets. And I'm like, I remember seeing that little like ticket place.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, I didn't look into it. I didn't like step up to it. So, because I already had my ticket. So that's
Oh,
why
okay.
I asked. I think people are wondering about that. Like, okay, can I just get my ticket there?
Oh,
And if,
you can. Yeah, you can. Hmm.
yeah, so they don't have to stress out over it. Uh,
Yeah, because we were stressing because at first we thought that that QR code that was there, that was the only way to buy it, and for some reason our signal wasn't working. So we were like, okay, like there has to be another way. And yeah, luckily we asked and they sent us there because we were about to leave. We were like, oh, you know what, forget it.
I think that's the thing about the heat that you're like, because that's how I was with the
It
Roman
was
Forum.
so hot, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I want to film everything for YouTube, but then like, yeah, like I said, when I was there, I was like, dude, or even the Colosseum, like I sat down for a little bit, and I'm like, I need to get in the shade. And another element is that there's so many, like, there's a lot of people
Yeah.
in there, so you
But I
gotta,
feel like it was like a nice, you would get like a nice breeze in there. Um, yeah, when you would step out, that's when like the sun would just smack you right in the face.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
So we have 1 minute left.
Okay.
Final thoughts on Rome.
Well, it's definitely a place to go. I remember when I was telling my coworkers that I was gonna go, they were like, "Oh my God, like, you know, if that was like the place that I really wanted to go like for our honeymoon," and I was like, "Absolutely." And I do not regret it at all. Like that was actually one of the places that I been wanting to go. I have it on my bucket list, so I'm glad I scratched that off. But it's definitely like a place to visit. Like, especially if you love pasta, definitely go. Like that's pasta heaven right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I feel like, there's definitely places I think that we'll visit in our lifetime that we're going to be like, oh, that wasn't exactly what we thought.
Yeah,
But I think Rome is definitely one you need to visit. There's just too much history not to see it.
exactly. At least in this lifetime, at least go once.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that is it for this video before we get cut off. Thank you so much for joining me. And thanks everybody for watching.